Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to The Law. This is your legal light. It is your health law. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. And call it a continuation of our discussion on legal education in Ghana. Today, we have the very rare privilege of hosting a man who has had a decade at the helm of affairs as far as legal education and the Ghana School of Law is concerned. So, we have received some of your questions. We'll go directly and have him respond to them and share his wealth of knowledge, 10 years at the helm. You're welcome. We'll be right back. You're welcome back. This is The Law. It's your legal light. It is your health law. And we have a very special guest, Henry Kwesi Prempeh Ek. That's the man who has been at the helm for 10 solid years. Several or many years before even assuming that responsibility, onerous responsibility, at the Ghana School of Law. Sir, thank you so very much for honoring our invitation. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. You're welcome, Samson.
Thank you.
Okay.
Right. So let's start from this. I have been asking around, and I discovered that I didn't know as much about you when I was at the law school. So you have been at the law school for over 2 decades.
Yes. From October 98, I came from Home Finance Company to the Ghana School of Law. So from October 98, that'll be about 24 years.
Right. And 24 years, how many of those years teaching and instructing students? And one of your students just sent a message, Adrian. He says, you knew every student by name.
Yes, that is true. If you pass through my hands, I normally remembered your name.
Right. Yes, so all those years, how many doing what? At what stage?
For 10 years, or for 14 years, I was a lecturer. Okay. Lecturer, then later promoted to senior lecturer. And then in October 2012, I was made director of the law school.
Right.
And director of legal education.
At your send-off party, and I've been, going through the internet, and it brings up a number of things to me. At your send-off party, it was said that in school, one of your nicknames was the fastest reader.
I was interested in reading from primary school. In fact, from primary school, my aunt called me Professor Bukwem. And because we were 6 boys, and whilst we were playing football, most of my brothers were playing football, I'd be in the room reading. And so she gave me that nickname. And somehow from primary school, they just thought that I would become a lawyer. And I mean, to the glory of God, they saw me being called to the bar, 7th October, 1988.
7th October, 1988.
Yes.
All right. All right. How I wish you could donate some of those years to me so that I will show off around the court. Yes. I'll come back to the question of you being a voracious reader.
Yes.
And they said that they would, at school, if they needed certain things, they would check with you and you have already read and finished and so on and so forth.
Yes.
Would you say that is a trait that is required to be a lawyer and a successful one?
I think preparation. If you prepare, you are always adequate for whatever is required of you. So most of the time, I try to prepare ahead of time. And so when maybe someone will say, I'm going to examine you, I've already prepared. You don't need a date for a lecturer or teacher to say, I'm going to examine you before you show that you start preparing. I prepare ahead of time.
Okay, okay. So would you say that for many of those who are listening, potential, lawyers, those who want to have the opportunity of becoming lawyers, would you say that this is what they need to cultivate primarily if they want to become lawyers?
I believe so. Reading. You must love reading. You cannot do the law without loving reading. And as for that one, it's a lifetime commitment.
Why so?
Because for example, I have stopped practicing for 10 years. If I'm going to come back to the courts, the civil procedure laws have changed. I cannot rely on my knowledge of the past to come and tackle the applications before the court. I have to read up.
All right.
And that involves a lot of reading. And the other day, I was at one of the faculties, and I told them that I told the law students, you can't rely on head notes to pass. You may pass, but you need to understand the principles. So
head notes constitute the summary of a case.
Yes.
Or judicial decision.
Yes.
And lawyers depend a lot on judicial decisions to reference them in court.
Yes.
But you talk about if you have to go back, you need to, read up on your procedure because things have changed.
Yes.
But some will say you have an area which is your forte, conveyancing.
Yes.
So you can keep yourself to that practice and you'll be good.
Yes, I will. And even then, the Land Acts have been passed.
That's
so
right.
I have to read up on that also.
Land Act 2020.
Yes.
And it has made a very dramatic change to the laws on land
law
and property.
That's right. That's right.
So because the law is always changing,
yes,
that's why you need to be reading.
Yes, otherwise you'll be embarrassed.
Okay. So for those of you who want to and have been dreaming to become lawyers, that's a good lesson for you. Take it from H. Kwesi Prempeh Ek. There's a difference.
Yes.
And many have confused him with Professor H. Kwesi Prempeh of the CDD.
Yes.
Right. So reading, no alternative. That's how you go. So we hear, the story of your administration and the fact that for the 10 years that you were there, you did something spectacular, and many people are interested in that aspect. That is that whilst your predecessor, George Sapong, increased the satellite campuses to 2, as in one in Gempa and one in KNUST, to add to Makola to make 3, you proceeded to make it into 5.
Yes.
What informed that, and what impact would you say that has made in legal education?
Samson, the interest in legal education, I saw a spike in 2013 after the election petition. I think people were fascinated by my lord, objection, amicus curiae, and all that. They were fascinated. So a lot of applications, I realized that a lot of applications came in 2013, 2014, 2015. And then also a lot of faculties of law also cropped up. And so we had to prepare for them. In 2016, our cutoff point was 66%. So many people who technically had passed could not gain admission to the law school because they couldn't make it. We cut off at 66, interviewed about 300 people and took 250 people.
That was how many applicants?
I can't remember really, maybe 600 or so.
That's a good number.
Yes, yes. So it was a very trying time for us. And so we thought that we should prepare some more. And so that was what happened. And then also with the faculties, you remember from the Legal Profession Act, 1960, Act 32, everyone must come. If you want to be a legal practitioner, or if you want to be called to the bar, you must come to the law school. And you had about 12, we have about 12 faculties of law now, all of them aspiring to come to the law school. That's a lot of pressure. And we don't have the facilities, the infrastructure. That is why we've kept on renting facilities. We are now starting a building of our own called the Law Village Project, but it's not yet ready. And so in the circumstances, what do? You can't deny people legal education. So we had to go and look for bigger facilities for them. And so we went to UPSA, and then we've also gone to the University of Ghana, Legon, for the 499 students. Mm-hmm. We had to also prepare for them.
So the additional satellite campuses, after GIMPA and KNUST,
yes.
you have UPSA,
yes.
and then University of Ghana.
Yes, School of Business.
School of Business
University of
at the
Ghana
University
Business
of Ghana.
School.
Business
yes.
School.
And
right.
then they do tutorials at the Faculty of Law.
Okay.
Yes.
Right. So in your estimation, how has that helped? When
I was made director, we had a student population of 300, 150 in part 1, 150 in part 2. Mm. Now we have a student population of between 2,500 to 2,700. So there's been a jump. Mm. There's been a jump. I mean, right. That's what I can see, that there's been a jump. I am not too concerned about the student numbers as the people who teach.
Okay.
Because if you don't teach them well, a lawyer who is not well taught or who is not well trained is a danger to the clients. And I always say that.
How do you say it's a danger?
I always say that behind every student are clients. If you haven't learned your principles well, you're going to give wrong advice to your clients and get them, they will find themselves in trouble because of the fact that their lawyer gave them wrong advice.
Right.
So I'm very particular, not only about the student numbers, but who is teaching them. What are the facilities available, libraries, facilities.
So like the physician, your lawyer could kill you.
Yes, that's very true, Samson.
Okay. Explain to us, you say that if you want to be a lawyer, you must come to the law school. Yes. We know that you have 2 streams of students that you take care of.
Yes.
So you have, is it the regular and the post-call?
The professional course.
And post-call.
The professional course are for those who have gone to the faculties of law. They write the entrance exam, and then they are admitted to do the professional law course.
Right.
Then there are those who have studied abroad, but then under the common law system. Then they become eligible to do the post-call for 1 academic year. They start in October and then they end in June.
The professional, they do for how long?
They do 2 years.
2 years.
We tried the 1-year experiment, it didn't work. So we've reverted to the 2-year. So they do 6 subjects in part 1 and 4 subjects in part 2.
They used to do that without any other interventions. Now you have internship.
Yes.
What is behind that?
The internship was to prepare them for the profession. One of the things that because I'm a first-generation lawyer, I didn't know any person. You had to go and look for someone from your hometown and then do your pupillage with the person, or go and look for someone from your church. So the internship kind of prepared them for the profession. They now found seniors that they didn't know. They worked with them, they mentored them, and then after school, after they were called to the bar, they may decide whether to go back to that place or they'll find somewhere else. So that's why, that's the difference I see. For a lot of them, they are first-generation lawyers.
Yeah, but once they have completed the law school,
yes,
they have the mandatory pupillage that they have to do.
Yes.
So what is the essence of the internship? Some have asked that question.
The internship, as I said, is to prepare them. They are given a series of instructions. And then they're also asked to put down certain reflections on their training. And so we don't usually send them to people who know them. You are not sent to your relative who's an uncle who's a lawyer, etc. We send them to people who don't know them, who bring them up and train them the way they wanted to be trained when they were young lawyers. So that is one of the essence. That they would have
do that for how long?
For about 6 months. But we break it up. Okay. Part 1, you do 3 months, and then part 2, you do 3 months.
Okay.
But then you must have and then you are interviewed. We have an interview session. You must get at least 70% before you become eligible to be called to the bar. We wanted them to take the things seriously because we had to go to Abuja, the Nigerian Law School, and discuss with them. And they told us some of their problems. That's a person will actually be assigned to an uncle. So that uncle will cover for them. The person will be working abroad, but the uncle will cover for him, say, oh, this person worked with me, and give the person high accolades, and then the person is called to the bar. So in order to show that we're serious, those were some of the guidelines. Don't go to relatives. Go to people who don't know you. Let them train you. And then also we asked for feedback from the students. Sometimes they'll go to places where they won't be taught. And so when they come back and they tell us, then we limit, or we don't even take students there to that law firm. There are some law firms who don't train. You do the draft to the senior just corrects and doesn't show you, because we believe that there should be principles with which you do your things. A lot of the law firms have different ways of doing things. Right. That is fine. But train and mentor the person as to why you do certain things. So when the person leaves, the person can build up on that knowledge. But if you don't train the person, you just correct, oh, okay, you've brought the first draft, that's all. And then you the senior, you do the rest of the work. At the end of the period, the person hasn't learned anything.
Right.
If they come back and they complain to us that we didn't learn anything at this person's place, we don't take them there again.
Okay. And they also tag along to go to court. So
they observe. Like I said, a lot of them are first-generation lawyers.
Right.
They have no idea what goes on. They like the glamour of being a lawyer, but they don't know what it entails. The fact that sometimes you can stay in the office till 1 a.m. When you have a deadline, you can stay, and you have to. If you are married to someone who doesn't understand, then it becomes a problem.
That's right. Right, so we are having a conversation with Henry Kwesi Prempeh Ek, who has been the Director of Legal Education and of the Ghana School of Law for 10 solid years, sharing, his experiences and getting us, even more interested in becoming lawyers. Now, the understanding we have is that one finishes and they are bound to do their pupillage, and the pupillage is also a period for training.
Yes.
But now with the inclusion of the internship, then it means by the time they receive their license to start practice as lawyers, they would have spent how long in actual, practical learning?
Let's say about a year of being trained. 6 months internship and then 6 months pupillage.
All right. Is that important because the legal profession initially grew out of, as it were, mentorship? Not just going to a law school, but being held by somebody, apprenticeship, so to speak.
So to speak, yes. Because a lot of the time, before you are allowed to handle a client's work or client's brief, you must have been trained a bit. You must have been guided. Otherwise, you are likely to falter somewhere along the line. And unfortunately, there may not be the opportunity to recover because you are dealing with someone's life. So that's why it's important to, before the person is allowed to deal with people's cases, etc., the senior is confident. And then also at the law school, we are confident that you cannot expect to know as much as I know after 34 years in practice. But you must have a minimum of experience or knowledge of the principles. You must exhibit that kind of competence for you to be released, as we always say, onto the unsuspecting public. Yeah.
On the issue of expansion, we have a lot of questions that border on that.
Yes.
People appear to suggest that even though you have expanded to 5 satellite campuses, they can still feel, the impact. For example, let's say in 2018, there were as many as 1,801 applicants. Then the number admitted were 467. In 2017, there were 1,424. The number admitted, 524 in 2016, and I'm going backwards.
Yes.
In 2016, there were as many as 1,321.
Yes.
The number admitted, 1,477. In 2015, 1,231. The number admitted, 251. Then in 2014, the number of applicants were 589, but those admitted, 271. If you look at how it has come,
yes,
the present increase
yes,
doesn't appear to answer the need. Where we are told that you have as many as about 3,000 LLB graduates
yes,
who are seeking access,
yes,
but can't, have...
What we tried to establish was that if you have 50% and above, you must be admitted. And so, because at the first time when, in 2013, that's what I established, that you ask for admission to a Ghana School of Law, you must come in on merit.
All right.
And it was a strong principle that you must come in on merit. So if you had 50 and above, so the General Legal Council also agreed, if you have 50 and above, you'd be admitted. It was last year that we had an issue and the 499 were denied, but later we admitted them.
Okay.
But so the issue is that although we try to admit all those who had 50, those who were not admitted reapply the following year. And so at any point in time, there's an increase in the number of people who are applying for admission or who want to write the entrance exam. And then also, as I said, the faculties of law are about 12. All these people, after they graduate, are trying to gain admission to a Ghana School of Law. We don't have any control over the number of people who are admitted at the faculties. So Legon, for example, might take 150. You go to another place, they are taking much more than that. And all these people would have to write the entrance exam.
There are those who say you are just trying to keep to tradition. You have, over the long period, and even within your 10-year period, you have just been trying to keep to the tradition. We had the current director, Yao Pong,
yes,
on this show last week, and he spoke about, people were fascinated when they heard about the fact that in 1958, the first group of law students that were admitted, there were 600 applicants.
Yes.
And then there were only 97 of them that were admitted.
Yes.
But in the end, only 9 of them,
yes,
came out as lawyers. So it looks like the tradition is being kept.
You see, before the person is called to the bar, the person must show competence and knowledge. And then even if you look at the Legal Profession Acts, apart from passing the courses, you must also show that you are of good character. So all these things go into consideration before the person can be called to the bar. And if you are not able, for example, you are combining work and school, and you are not able to satisfy that standard, it's a professional course. They are under no obligation to say, let's say 200 people have failed, so let's just pass them. Let's lower the bar and pass them. As I always argue, behind the students are clients. So you must show that you have a deep knowledge of the law. We're not saying everything, you should know everything, but show enough for us to be able to release you. So it's not a plan that would fail people. But for those who have marked before, they'll tell you, they are able to see. The people who have studied hard, they're able to see. As they are marking, they're able to see. And then there are some people, we say that they are using common sense to answer the questions. You can also see that. The people who have not prepared, you can also see that. And if you don't deserve to pass, the lecturers or the examiners are not under any obligation to pass you, because everyone has an index number. You are admitted as an individual, and you come out as an individual. And you are responsible for your actions in the legal profession. That is why sometimes, even for the internship, there are some law firms we don't send students. If your law firm consistently is being called to the disciplinary committee on disciplinary issues, we don't send law students, because we believe that in that case, they may learn certain practices which will not help them in their legal profession. Yes.
What will you say to those who say, it appears then that apart from all of these logistical difficulties,
yes,
the emphasis is actually on your competence,
yes,
and also good behavior and character.
Yes.
And that it makes becoming a lawyer very difficult, not only in Ghana, but everywhere. For example, information shows that in Kenya, in 2019, they had only 308 out of 1,572 students sitting the exam at the Kenya School of Law, passing, the bar exams. Then in Sierra Leone, almost a similar thing happens. Only 29 out of 179 students who sat the examination were successful. Okay. In America, we are told about the Charlotte School of Law, where in 2017, it was actually shut down for poor performance of the students. What is it about law, the study of law, that leads to all of this?
What I said was that knowledge and competence is very important. If your knowledge of the principles, I remember at the Faculty of Law, when we were students, Mr. Fuichikata will give you a case list. And then you go and sit at tutorials. And then he will go line by line, case by case. And sometimes if you show that you hadn't read, he will just walk you out. If he walked you out once or twice, the next time you'd go prepared. And so that was what was built inside, the kind of knowledge that you couldn't be lazy. If you tried to be lazy, you wouldn't survive. And
each case will contain about how many pages to read?
Oh, at least 50 or so. You had to, some of them 90 pages.
90 pages. And the minimum list you'll be given will be like how many?
About 100 cases.
100 cases per subject?
No, not per subject. Let's say he's reached immovable property, an aspect of, let's say, adverse possession. There are aspects of adverse possession that he wants you to look at critically. He'll give you different cases. And you'd have to show that you've read, and you know the difference between this case and that case.
Not even for the entire course.
No.
But for a part of the course.
Yes.
And I'm giving a list of 100 cases.
Yes, to read.
And a case could be as many as 90 pages.
Yes. So we had seats at the library, the law faculty library. You had a seat. When you went there after breakfast or something, you sat there. You sat there and then...
Some of us read and slept. And then in the night, you hear the stories being told about law students putting their foot into, buckets of water and reading, and their rooms are disorganized and all of that.
The law is a very jealous mistress. You have to have time for it. If you don't have time for it, you'll be exposed. That is how, and that's what I'm saying, that even after you are called to the bar, you still keep reading. And even the justices of the Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, they still keep reading, because
that's right.
Once party has given you a lot of cases to support his case, another party has also given you different cases to support his or her case.
Right.
You have to read both. And then also read your own, do your own research, and come out with a judgment. And if you're a judge, whatever your decision, someone will not be happy. So you have to be comfortable in yourself that this decision is the right decision I'm making. Because whatever your decision, one of the parties will not be happy.
So we are having a conversation with the former director of legal education and the Ghana School of Law, Henry Kwesi Prempeh Egg. And he was there for a whole of a decade and beyond, but for that period as the director, he told us about being there for 24 years, a decade and 4 years, 2 decades and 4 years. And if you have not learned anything yet, he just told you that as a student of the law, you must be ready to read and read and read. The 2012 presidential election matter you spoke about, when the case was over, we needed to analyze the case on JoyNews the next morning, and I'd gotten the raw, judgment, and in excess of over 500 pages, because every judge had written, and I read the whole thing before the next morning. I got to the
That was part of your training.
I was so tired. Right. But it is the training that gives you the ability to be able to do that.
Yes.
So for those who presently, and I'm staying a bit on this, we'll go on the phone lines now, but I'm staying a bit on this because people have a lot of questions about the expansion. Do you think that anything can be done further beyond what you and your predecessors have achieved, and of course your successor is seeking also to do?
There was a plan or an argument that we should take the professional course to the faculties of law. And then they would all write one exit exam to be supervised by the Independent Examination Committee. But then you also have to find out what is happening at the faculties of law. Who is teaching? What is being taught? Etc. And you can't say that, let's say, I'm just using an example, Legon is the best, because there are 12 others, there are 11 or 12 others. If you give them and we have gone around to almost all the faculties, and sometimes we've pointed out this has to be done, you have to correct this, you have to improve on this, etc. So if we just leave them and say everyone should attempt, if you write the bar and you don't pass, that's not our problem. We can only do that for 1 or 2 years. After that, they will start protesting, like the Institute of the Chartered Accountants, where they say that there's a plan to prevent us from being chartered or chartering. Okay, so if you ask all of them to write the bar, and only a few people pass because we say that they don't meet the standard, a time will come when people say there's a deliberate attempt to prevent us from entering the profession, and maybe that will not be the case.
So, on that note, let me just share with you a comment and question embedded from Jason Nana Eje, sending us this message from Pokwase. He says, "Good afternoon. God bless you for your good works." And he wants to find out, you just indicated that a pass mark of 50% qualifies one an entry to the law school. However, due to the 499 issue, no pass mark was indicated in the advert. It says, "We, the LLB holders, see it as an attempt to fail those who will get the 50% and above if the Ghana School of Law gets their required number. After going through this stress, yet when you make the pass mark of 50%, you will be denied access due to infrastructure. Hence, they not advertising the pass mark of 50%.
Well, maybe the council decided not to put a pass mark because with the issue of the 499, that was their trump card.
That's right.
That we knew that if we had 50%, we would be admitted. The council wants to have the right to determine, in terms of the numbers they can admit per year. And until that structure is changed, where all the faculties of law, the LLB graduates come to the law school, until that structure is changed, they have to be in a position to know the numbers they are admitting and the numbers they can train. Because as I was saying, it's not just the student numbers. If you bring them and you can't teach them well, how are they going to pass?
That's right.
You see, when I used to teach, you remember, I knew all my students. By second term, I knew each student by name.
That's right.
December, I'll do an exam, first interim assessment test. We'll mark. And then Easter time, we'll do the second interim assessment test. We'll mark. So by Easter time, I knew the strength of the class. The very good ones who didn't, whatever I did, they will pass. Then those in the middle, and then those that I had to pay attention to.
Right.
There were people I was giving additional assignments, etc., just to make sure that when it came to June, they would pass.
And when you came to the class, you deliberately walked to them. Right.
I knew my students by name.
Right.
So, but then right now, with a student population of 2,700, I don't have that same expectation of the lecturers because the students are too many. But then being able to pay attention to them, and when I was director, it was one of the usual meetings I had with the tutorial masters.
Okay.
That don't let them prepare for tutorials. Don't let just a few people dominate the tutorials. Walk among them, call people at random. Let them know that when they come for tutorials, every one of them should be prepared. Because we want to know what's in their head. If no one, the person doesn't speak, you don't know whether the person has prepared or not. But in June, they are going to write the same exam. If the person fails, then the person begins to blame the system that I prepared. And I'm saying that when you don't prepare, the person marking sees it. They see the differences between sometimes the very young ones. They are excellent.
All right.
They've prepared the right, you have no problem passing them. And then there are some too, they are writing, and you can see that they are using, let me say, common sense to answer the questions. And it's a law paper.
Okay.
When I used to teach you, one of the things I used to say was that if you as a law student, you cannot answer 4 questions without citing a case. If you do that, I'll fail you. So it was something I told the whole class, that prepare, but you cannot write just English language and expect to pass. If you do that, I'll fail you. And so that was the standard I had set.
All right.
If you're a law student and you did that, you wrote and you put down your cases, you are sure to pass and go your way.
What do you perceive to account for what is said to be the ritual, or what is ritually termed as the mass failure, beyond the entrance exams, like those who are already in?
Yes.
And only not too many are getting out, so to speak, or some are having to resit and so on. And this is not a matter of today, because as we have looked at already, the history of the first cohort, 600 came in, is it 97 were picked, and then in the end only 9
were
made
called
it.
to the bar. Yes.
What is it? What accounts for these failures?
As I said, you have to look at the person as an individual candidate, what you put on the paper. If what you wrote is adequate, it's likely the person passing you, or the person marking will pass you. And they are not to look at the fact that many people have failed, so let's pass them. That is not, because it's a professional course. Each candidate must be eligible, must pass the standard.
Right.
The reason being, sometimes you don't know where they're going to end up. They will end up, if they end up in a good place, they will be trained, they will be mentored, they will become okay. They may also go to a one-man chamber, and they may not be well trained. So that basic knowledge that they should have before they leave the school, we have to be confident about it before we release them. And they are not all going to stay in Accra. Some of them are going to go to Kumasi, Takrady, etc. So you must be confident with what they know before you release them.
All right. Let me announce to you that we're opening the phone lines now. Bring your questions relevant to the issues that we are discussing about the law school, legal education in general. There's been this issue of leakage of exam papers, that bring controversy, and seek to bring the institution into some disrepute. Because this is an institution that is training people whose entrance qualification includes high moral character.
Yes.
How do you avert this? Why does it happen?
Sometimes you have to look at the chain of the processes before the examination, the papers reach the exam room. The responsibility is on the Independent Examination Committee to ensure that they minimize the loopholes. And usually the chairperson would take responsibility for that. But down the line, I don't know what went wrong. But that is what is supposed to happen. Because when I was director, sometimes I get to the lecturers will bring the questions the day before. I'll proofread at home, get to the office at 5 a.m. for 3 weeks. And I told myself that I have to sacrifice. I'm not going to put this in the hands of someone else, and then something will go wrong.
Okay.
And then people will comment and say, but you are the director, you can assign. I say, no, for this, I'll take responsibility for it. And so you do that for a period. So maybe, but the numbers have increased now. So the logistics of it, how do you prevent or minimize the number of people who have access to the questions?
Before they
it's
are
part of the challenge.
Yes.
It's part of the challenge.
Right.
So I can't speak about what happened recently.
Okay.
Yeah, but I know that it's supposed to be a chain of people who may have access to either they submit questions or something, I don't know. But this one, it looks like someone actually
As
did.
we get ready to take some of the questioning, what would you say are some of the, innovative, things that you brought to bear, achievements that you are happy when you look back?
One of the things I'm very happy about was the fact that I blended the lecturers from the different campuses. What we did was we introduced an annual retreat. So they all came from the different campuses. They would meet, they would discuss subject areas, and they would also discuss, in terms of all of us as academics, how to prepare for our students. So that was something we did. And then also I invited resource people to come and talk to them about teaching adult students. So we had a resource person like Professor Philip Simpson, former rector of the GIMPA. Would come and talk to them because he has a degree in law.
Founding dean for the
University of Cape
Coast Law School.
Yes. He has a degree, he has a master's, he has an SJD, and he also has a degree in education. So we thought he was a good person to come in. And then he taught at the law school also for some time. So that's one I'm very happy about it, the fact that we blended them. And so they are a team, they work. Sometimes the person teaches at the Akrame and can go and teach in Kumasi. Those arrangements. So you are not restricted to exposure to just the lecturers who teach you. Or maybe for one subject, the person will teach all the different campuses. So I was very happy about that. The other thing I'm happy about was I introduced the Natural Resource Mentoring Program. That was in 2017. I think 2017 to 2019. So we had a training for a group of law students on natural resource issues. So we had people like Kojo Bensenchil of blessed memory, and Mr. Emmanuel Seko, who is an expert in natural resource, this thing, and then Egbe Fabil, Petroleum Commission, Petroleum Authority, National Petroleum Authority, Ghana Gas Company, GMPC. All these people came in to train these students. So it's a core. The vision I had was that these are the people who should replace mentors like Chachuchi Kata, Kojo Bensenchil, etc. That when it comes to the issue of energy and natural resources, that is the next generation of experts. And I'm very happy about that.
All right, interesting to know about that. Emmanuel, you're calling us from Takrady. Welcome to the law. Oh, did I lose Emmanuel? Okay, I think I lost Emmanuel. Hello, Kofi Annan. Kofi Annan, let's go on. Yes, Kofi Annan. Oh, did I lose you too? Kofi Annan, you are calling from Kumasi. Okay, we lost Kofi Annan. Right. Shaibu Sabi sent in the question, says, what does Mr. Prempeh Ek make of the communique brought out by the General Legal Counsel, the Independent Examination Committee concerning this year's Makala entrance exam, i.e. no option for remarking, retallying of results, no request to see marked scripts, no request for marking scheme, no stated pass mark, no option to seek for redress, no stated number of students to be admitted. I don't know.
I'm the past director. Let me run away from this.
Okay. Hakeem, you're calling us from Sunyani. Let's hear you.
Yes, please, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead.
Yes. If I'm an ACK student, so I would love to do law someday.
All right.
I would like to know, like, what it takes. Can I apply directly or have to go through some processes?
You say that you are an SHS student.
Yes, please.
You have
and
finished.
I'll be completing very soon. So I would like to know if I can apply for law direct or have to go through certain processes before.
Oh, okay. Thank you for your question. Whose line is beeping? Okay, so Hakeem is talking about how to get to the faculty. Yes, let's speak to John before. John Boche. Hello, John.
Hi, Simpson. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, please. I want to know the school who is supposed to promote integrity with academic work. All the time we have leakage and no one gets punished about it. Doesn't that create a very bad impression about the school?
All right, thanks for your question. So Hakeem in Sunyani first. How does he get into, he's about to finish senior secondary school?
There are two streams for the faculties. you can either go directly for 4 years at the faculty if you're an SHS leaver. If you have a degree, you can go for 2 years.
Okay.
And then you write the entrance exam and come to a law school. So sometimes you see a disparity between the ages of the students. Some are very young.
That's right.
But I always say their brains are very sharp.
That's true. Listening to you, it does appear to me that you have a preference for the younger ones and those who are not working.
All I need is your commitment to the course. But if you try to, how do I put it?
Combine.
If you try to combine, one will suffer, either your workplace or the academic or the professional course. And the people teaching you, they have certain expectations. For example, I want to be able to say, this person is my former student. I'm very proud of what I've put in a person.
That's right.
And you don't want someone, and sometimes we've had instances where people, they haven't prepared and they want you to pass them. I don't want to say that that's my former student. When I don't know what's in your...
Okay.
So that is one of the things.
At KNUST, for the post-degree,
yes,
it used to be 3 years. I don't know if it's still the same. You said people can go direct to do the 4 years or they'll do 2 years.
It depends on the faculty.
Okay.
It depends on the faculty.
At KNUST, it was 3 years.
Okay. For post-course?
Yes, for post-course.
For those who have a degree.
Those who have a degree.
Okay.
Akwesi Bio. Let's hear you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How are you doing?
Grace of God. Thanks for asking.
First of all, I would like to know the school is private institution or government institution.
Is that all your question?
No. First, this is the first question. And second, I would like to know this the law to pursue this law. And let to know if you with your diploma, how will you start with level-handed or you begin in some stage of the institution.
How do you gain access to the law faculty with a diploma? Thank you very much. So, first question, is it private or public institution?
For
the law school?
Oh, it's a public institution.
So it's a public institution.
Yes.
But you have also spread out and you have 5 satellite campuses.
Yes, we have access.
Great.
Oh.
Then he's asking, I think this is for LLB.
Yes.
He's asking that if he has a diploma, how does he get to start?
Then it depends on the faculty and its requirements. Because some, we try to streamline all those things. We have what we call the Conference of Law Deans. And that is all the deans of all the law faculties, and then also directors of the law school, and then past directors. We've tried to streamline because all of them are aspiring to enter the Ghana School of Law.
Right.
So in 2013, I mooted that idea that we should try and work together. Having a diploma, I think if I look at the law, the LLB, you must have a degree first.
That's right.
That's
right.
So the diploma, I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, nonetheless, you can approach any of the law faculties and ask.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt.
Yes.
Abubakar, or you can go on the net and find out what is required. Abubakar, you're calling from Tamale. Let's hear you.
Please, my question is, I attended Educational College of Education, and I have degree course as we speak, a degree certificate. Can I also apply, or?
Can I apply?
You have a degree
in education.
You have a degree in education. What you need is a first degree. You have a first degree.
Yes, please.
Right.
You can apply to any of the faculties of law.
So remember that Mr. Prempe Ek was responsible for the Ghana School of Law, even though he also had some obligations or duties running what is called the legal education, because he was director for both. So those of you bringing most of your questions on the faculty level, LLB level, that's not what he actually would like to deal with. But Boache Ansa, you're calling from Takwa. Let's hear you.
Please, I want to ask, at what point can somebody be called a lawyer? That is, if after you are done with the faculty level at the various universities, can you be called a lawyer if it's not gone to the Ghana Law School?
Called to the Ghana Law School. You mean called to become a lawyer or to the Ghana Law School?
Being at you've not completed the 2 years at the Ghana School of Law and being called to the Ghana Bar.
Okay, thank you very much. So when does one become a lawyer? That's what he's saying.
When you are called to the bar, that is when.
When does that happen?
After you have done the examinations, the papers, there are about 10 papers you must pass. After you've done that, then the General Legal Council says you become eligible to be called to the bar. You become a candidate to be, or an applicant to the bar.
It's not automatic.
You can, we have had to stop a few people sometimes because of character issues. Yes, so you can have all the passes, but you can still not be called to the bar.
I was asking Yao the other day about this. If you want to become a judge, they say high moral integrity and all of that.
Yes.
I'm just a student now, becoming a lawyer. Why do you put moral issues as a qualification for me?
In fact, we start watching you from the time you become a law student. And the same requirement applies to our law students. I've had occasion when I had to dismiss students on grounds of examination malpractice.
Okay.
It wasn't my wish, but the profession has its demands.
So that answers the question that somebody had asked earlier. Somebody dismissed for exam malpractice.
Yes, if you have caught, you can be dismissed.
Okay. Okay, I think they've taken him off. There was Francis who was on the line, but he's been taken off. I can see that for many of those, there are many lawyers who are watching and listening, and some of them are saying, I should say hi to you, including Dr. Ali Nacha.
Oh, right.
Right. But for those who are aspiring to go to law faculty, to go to law school, what will be your advice to them? Because I think they are the important segment who want to hear from you.
If you want to read law, you must have in mind that this is a subject or a profession that is quite demanding. And from the time you enter, you can't afford to be lazy. You have to work hard from beginning till the Lord calls you. Senior Kujeto is 85 or so. He's still reading. But he reads.
Yeah.
He's not lazy. He's 85 years.
Yes.
And he's not relaxing on his past. Or
even talk about Chachish Kata, you just mentioned.
Yes.
He goes to the court.
He goes to the court at his age.
Right.
A lot of the people are people he taught. So you must be prepared to apply yourself. Secondly, we don't like shortcuts. And then thirdly, after a while, when you come in, you can decide, you can't do everything.
Okay.
So you can decide that this is my area of interest. For example, I never practiced as a criminal lawyer, but it hasn't affected me adversely.
All right.
You see. So you decide on an area of interest, and there's more than enough work. There was someone I taught.
What are some of the areas?
Corporate law, alternative dispute resolution, family law, labor law,
right,
industrial relations. Those are areas that civil procedure, for example. There are some who are very well versed in civil procedure. There are people who also like land law.
That's right.
That is their area. They are very competent. There are things that you can wake me up at 2 a.m. and I'll tell you, that is my area.
That brings me to the question. People have a perception that as a lawyer, you must, all the plenty books that you just said have to be read and cases that have to be read. The requirement is for you to internalize everything, memorize everything in you.
You don't memorize, but you understand the principles. That is why we try to say, don't read the head notes alone. Read and understand the principles of the judges. Once you understand the principles, anytime an issue comes up, you know exactly, for example, there was a disciplinary committee issue that I was brought in later.
Okay.
They didn't interview the person. And then they arrived at a judgment. Immediately, audio term per term came up. You should have listened to him. I said, we didn't think about it. They said, lawyer, we didn't think about it. I said, but he ought to have been given the right to respond to the allegations against him. You didn't do that, and you have sanctioned him. It is not fair.
Audio term per term, the rules of what you always hear, rules of natural justice.
Yes.
You should not condemn a man unheard. You must hear him before you condemn him.
Yes.
You always must hear the opposite side.
Yes.
And you must not be a judge in your own cause. If the matter affects you, don't turn yourself into a judge. The courts don't like it at all. So people have suffered at their workplaces once the rules of natural justice have not been followed
Yes.
in their termination and dismissal or whatever you call it, when they get to court, it's so easy.
Yes.
The courts, gets the employer in trouble.
Yes.
Right.
So it's the knowledge of the principles. Once you understand the principles, then you work with it. So you can't read everything. But after a while, but normally I advise the young law students, the first 3 to 5 years, do everything.
Okay.
If your senior sends you to Asamankesi, go. Criminal law, do it.
Divorce,
just do everything.
Do everything.
Do everything. Then after a while, you decide, I like this one, I don't like this one.
Okay.
And then you continue, you proceed.
All right. In just a minute before we go, how much did you like what you did for 10 years?
It was an opportunity to serve. And one of the things I like was the fact that I got exposed to the visually impaired students. And I helped them a lot. I went beyond the call of duty. And I'll say publicly, for example, Reverend Kranchi Ankra, anytime we had issues with school fees, I just had to call him. And he would bring the money.
People who are in need?
Yes.
Okay.
I was not even a member of his church. I'll just call him and say, we have a need for this. And he will pay. He will bring in the money and pay. Yeah.
Sam Kranchi Ankra?
Yes, of Royal House Chapel. He was not even, I'm not even a member of his church.
Okay.
But, so those people, I helped them to finish the course. And then I also spoke with the Attorney Generals and they were engaged by the Attorney. So they're working at the Attorney Generals. They've been empowered. They don't need our help again.
Okay.
Yeah.
At your send-off, I discovered you are also called Thomas. Henry Kwesi Prempe Ek is past director, Ghana School of Law and Legal Education. We have been discussing legal education in Ghana, a decade at the helm with him. We can't thank you enough for making the time to join us.
You're welcome.
Thank you so very much. And you were always at our Scripture Union meetings.
Yes.
You did it all the time.
Yes.
Thank you. God bless you. All right.
That was my place of fellowship.
Right.
Yes.
So this is the law. It's your legal light. It's your help law. I'm Samson Lardy Anyenini. Have a good afternoon.